Hit record. You guys are gonna have to accept that. I'm gonna hit record.
All right.
So you guys have this.
Got it.
Yeah. So you guys
A
have
little warning came up there. I'm sorry, I had to click over it.
Yeah,
So
no
the
worries.
4 main ingredients that you're gonna need is you're gonna need their name,
Yep.
email address,
Yep.
phone number, and one thing that a lot of people forget to ask, which is so it's like so blatantly obvious, we don't think, why. Remember, we talked about this. Mailing address. Where are they staying? Are they on mom's couch? Or
Yeah.
are they on year number 7 and they have 2 kids and you know about it, and it's time for them they need that extra bedroom because kid number 3 is coming. And again, Robbie, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say maybe doing it the wrong way, but not as efficiently as possible. Just had a talk with Sean is my direct, my team lead here on our side. And just again, it happens to me all the time. That's why I want to provide value to you. Him rating me in and being like, I hear you, you're on the phone, you're shooting around your conversations, boop, 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 boop. I'm over 15 million places, focusing and doing things the right way.
Yeah.
And you'll have time to do it all and still have a life.
Yeah.
So I want to teach you again, as I seeing from these guys that we're, obviously we want to be as our careers progress.
There's a thing called Parkinson's law. And if you've seen Parkinson's disease, it's like, my grandfather had versions of that when he was older, and he'd just sit there and his hand would be flying all over the place. And then he'd try to catch his hand with his other hand, and he'd end up punching himself in the face, and he gave himself a bloody lip and a bloody nose and poked himself in the eyeball. And God forbid you gave him a cane and he was having a bad day. It was like it was like Zorro, right? You try to get that thing away from him. You got to be a master swordsman to get that thing away from him without getting hit. And he couldn't even let go of it, right? So with that being said, Parkinson's law is basically people will find fidget and find move, and they just move for the sake of moving, as opposed to being intentional on how you move. So we've got to be really intentional on how we build our real estate business. So being brand spanking new like you are, the greatest part about this being brand new is that Anthony, not being brand new, is now going to have to go back, and he's going to have to hone back his skills and go, shoot, I should have been doing that. I got to do better with that, right? So what he's starting to learn now is by helping you grow, his business is going to explode, because he's going to go back to the basic stuff that he knows he needs to do consistently, right? Everybody in the industry is going to tell you different things to do as far as basic 101 for real estate. But I will tell you, like, I've seen this done horribly a bunch of times. Can you be successful with enough action doing the wrong stuff? Yes. But like, if you say to me, hey, I say to you, hey, I need 8 foot by 8 foot hole in the ground with a shovel, you can start digging. And the first question is, where do you want me to dig? You're like, dig behind the house. I'm like, okay, where behind the house? right up against the house, out in the middle of the yard. And I'm like, I'll just do it all the way in the back, right? And you're like, now you're in the easement, so you can't do that. So you got to get really specific. It's like, it's one thing to be digging a hole, but it's another thing to be digging a hole in the right spot, right? So the only thing better than running a race really fast is running a race really fast in the right direction. Because if you're running the wrong way, you're like, man, I'm flying. This is my fastest time ever. You're going the wrong way, you will never hit the finish line, okay? So sphere of influence is number 1. Statistically, we know consistently that we can get your sphere of influence to convert at 8 to 10%. There are people saying it's closing more like 8% consistently, but I will tell you, I know people still closing at 10, which means if you've got 200 people in your sphere, you should be able to get 20 closings out of that sphere if you're doing a good job, okay? So is your sphere of influence super important? Yeah,
absolutely.
So Anthony, did you get Robbie to tell you how many sales he needs to do? Do we know? Do we know the number?
No.
All right. So where do we want to dig our hole? And how big do we want the hole? Okay, so let's get that. So basic 101 realtor. How many sales do you need to do? I don't know. What are you aiming at? I don't know. What are you hitting? Who knows, right? So let's get really clear on what we're aiming at. And then we'll make sure that we're pointing in the right direction and you're doing things that support that, right? So if your goal is to make $20,000 a year, we don't need to sell 100 houses. If your goal is to make $100,000 a year, we probably need to sell close to 20 houses. So we need to figure out, what is that number first? What do you need to make? And then let's back a number out and say, this is how many houses you need to aim at. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Good. So let's hone in on that target. All right. So how much money do you need to make or want to make? 2 different topics, but how much money do you need to make in the next 12 months?
Well, when we go by need to make, I would feel with current bills where they're at right now, I would feel 60,000 is where I need to be.
Okay, 60,000. So your 60,000 is your minimum. Okay, is
Minimum.
that 60,000 gross or 60,000 net?
60,000 gross I could live on.
Okay, so your burn rate is around $4,000 a month, plus or minus a little bit.
Yep, right about there.
Okay, good. So let's aim a little bit high. So 60,000 gross is cool. Okay, so do we want to aim for breaking even?
No, I'd like to exceed that.
Okay, so why don't we build a plan that aims you at 80? And then if you miss by a little bit, we're still good. Sound fair?
Fair, yes.
All right, cool. So $80,000 it is. So now we're clear. Let's aim at 80. And if you hit 80 or over hit 80, you're going to be fine with that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, good. So let's build a plan. So let's say, how many houses do I need to sell to hit 80,000? You're working in the northern Tampa market, right? So you're talking Spring Hill, Brooksville, that kind of area?
Yep, all of Hernando, all of Citrus, and even dipping into Pasco a little bit if I have to.
Okay, cool. So what is your average sales price in your markets there? Anthony will probably be able to help out with that. It's going to be 200-ish, probably 220.
I think more than
Yeah,
that.
we're about probably 250.
Yeah,
Is it that
250 would
high?
be a good number to say. Yep.
250 I'm seeing a lot of, yeah.
Okay, 250. Okay, so if you're at 250, so $250,000 house. Do you know what the commission is typically on a $250,000 house?
Well, a lot of MLS listings I've been seeing for buyer's agent are usually between 2 and 3% for the buyer's agent.
Okay, so typically you're looking at, most people will tell you 3%, but that's not typically accurate. So let's build this number off of 2.5, just because I want to make sure that we have a number that makes sense. Okay, I want to aim everything low and then outperform, and I'm thrilled. I don't want to aim high, give you a bunch of BS, and then you're like, well, this didn't work out the way I expected it to, or what Russ told me to, right? I want you to be like,
Right.
if you do a good job consistently, you'll be able to average north of 2.5. You'll probably end up more like 2.75, right? So let's build everything off of 2.5 just to be safe. Okay, so let's do realtor math. Okay,
6250.
250,000 times 2.5 is
6250.
good. Love it. Okay, so there you go, 6250. So now if you take 80,000 divided by 6250.
That I can't do off the top of my head, but
round down. I was gonna say, let's just round down to 6, right? You round
All
down
right.
80,000 divided by 6. Still,
So what are we looking at? 13, maybe 12 or 13.
I don't know. You
Is
tell
that
me.
right? Hold on. I'm gonna give you an exact number here. I'm just gonna calculate.
So here's the thing, guys. So here's what we do when we're working with and talking with clients. See, I want them engaged and involved in the conversation. So I say, all right, let's pull out a calculator, right?
12.8.
$80,000 divided by 6 is 12.8. So we're going to round up to 13, because if you sell a 0.8 house, it's probably a sinkhole place, it's liability, right? We don't want you half-assing the business, which would be a 0.5 house. Okay. So with that said, you're going to be looking at 13 houses. Okay. So now I want your brain to be set at, I have one or more closing every single month. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's the mantra that I'm going to have behind me. I have one or more closing every single month. So if I have one closing get set up in the next month or so, and then I get another one set up for the month after that, and another one set up, like I'm on track, right? So I feel good. I'm doing the right stuff. I'm going the right direction. Now here's the fun part. If you're only doing one house sale per month, you're going to be bored, right? So,
I'm sure I will be. Absolutely.
but let's get to 1 first before we go to 2. Okay, so aim for 1 first. You got to hit 1 before you hit 2. It's the way it works, right? You got to take the first step before you take the second step. So this is your first step: is I have 1 smooth closing every month. Just ingrain that in your head. 1 smooth closing every month. Now the question is, where are we going to get that from? Most likely that's going to come from your sphere of influence. Is anybody going to do business with you that doesn't know you?
That doesn't know me. No, I've got to reach out in some way.
No, never. Nobody's ever going to do business with you when they don't know you. Like,
No.
hey, call Robbie. And they're like, who? Call Robbie. Call Robbie. You know Robbie. Like,
You know that guy.
no. Okay. Well, I can't call Robbie because I have no idea who you're talking about, right? So they're going to call their Robbie before they call you, right? So we've got to build your credibility with your sphere of influence. So first things first is get your list of sphere of influence together. How many people do you think you have in your sphere? Do you know? Do you have a number?
Well, if you're going by sphere as in having all of those key components, name, address,
Yep.
phone, email,
Yep.
I don't have a whole lot where I have all that complete info.
Okay. So that's your first task, is to get that right. And then what I'm going to do as a new agent, I want to give you an artificial timeline. Right? Do you have to have this list done by Friday or you're dead? No. But like if you were somebody's boss and you said, hey, put this list together by, right?
And then
So guess what? You're your own boss now. So being your own boss, should you give yourself a timeline on when you get that done so it gets done? Absolutely. Right. So
yeah.
brand new boss, I'm my own boss. I'm going to be nice to myself. Now I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to have my whole sphere of influence list together. Let me get everything I've got together. Let's do that in the next 3 days. Get everything I've got, right? It gives you 3 days to get everything you got, right? Even if you do 2 hours, take a break, do 2 hours, take a break, and then do 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2. Yes, what a whole whopping 7 or 8 hours in this thing to get all the stuff that you've got. And then of course you can always reach out and say, hey, by the way, I just became a real estate agent. I'm collecting info. I realized I didn't have your blah, blah, blah. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to start doing a market update all the time. And if you're wondering what's going on in the market, I'm going to be telling you that information. And people go, all right, yeah. So now you're adding value, right? Let's just try to get something, try to give something.
Yes.
So with that said, I could say, hey, I've got a quick market update. What's going on in the market? And I wanted to send it to you. And I realized I don't have your address. Now people go, oh, okay. You're trying to send me something. Okay, let me give you my address. So when people are like, Russ, but you don't understand. It's so hard. It's weird to ask people for their home address. Like, why do you want my home address? Well, I like licking stuff and mailing it to people because you touch something I licked. It's really gross and disgusting, but it's a fetish I've got. No, I'm not a weirdo, right? I want to send you something in the mail. Like if I wanted to send you $100 bill, where do you want me to send it? Like,
exactly.
It's not that hard. It's not like you're asking complete random strangers, right? You walk up to the prettiest girl at Publix and be like, hey, give me your home address. And like, whoa, creeper. Okay. So no, you don't do that. We're not doing that. These are people we know. Okay. Hey, I'm cleaning up my contact list, and every once in a while I bump into something interesting in real estate and I'm sending it out to everybody I know. So that's what I'm asking for. You don't want it. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not like I'm not asking for your firstborn here. Ha ha ha. And they're like, oh, it's okay. No worries. Yeah, let me give it to you. Okay. So with that said, name, address, phone number, email address. So when do you want to have that done? You're your own boss. When can you have what you got? Get together what you got.
And get a good influence. Everyone I've got, because I've got a lot of friends on Facebook. Most of them I know from Publix. I could realistically, I think in a week I can have it all done by, and that's everybody.
Okay, good. So here's what you're going to do. You put in your calendar, said by this date, I will be done, right? So by Friday, you should be doing a reality check. It's already Wednesday. So by Friday, so by this time next week, when you jump on here, you say, hey, Russ, I got my whole sphere of influence list together. Okay. So what you're going to do is now, because I'm a little smarter than the average bear, I'm going to make sure, because I'm my own boss, but I need somebody else looking over my shoulder because I'm human. I'm going to make sure I tell Anthony, hey, by Anthony, I will give you an update on Friday. And I will be done by Wednesday. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Right. Now, I will text you on Friday and let you know. And then I'll put in my calendar, text Anthony my progress. Now you're holding yourself accountable to doing something you know you should do. More likely to do it, right? So I'm going to tell my friends, hey, by the way, guys, we're going to go run 10 miles on Saturday. Who's with me? And everybody else is like, I'm with you. And then like, dang it, now I got to go because I told everybody else I was going. Okay. So it's the same type of mindset mentality to force yourself to do the things you know you already need to do. All right. You like that? This is engineering success intentionally. Okay. So first things first, is you're gonna get your sphere of influence together, get that list together, add to it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. So once we get that list, how many would you estimate you have in your sphere of influence? Just guessing based on what you think you have.
Ooh, let's see. I'll go for a conservative amount here to start, but let's say 50 guaranteed. I'd have to really explore to see the exact number, but at least I know of that many.
Okay, so let's go into who's in your sphere of influence. Friends, family, coworkers, past coworkers.
Absolutely.
Hairstylist, maybe not for you, not so much for me. Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I got 3.
The kids have friends?
They do.
Do the kids play on the soccer team?
Track team.
Okay, so do the other parents show up for track? Yeah. Okay, so there's all those people you're connecting with, right? So now when you're out there and you're like, hey, I resigned from Publix and now I'm a real estate agent, they're going to say to you, Hey, Robbie, how's the market? I'm really glad you asked. I'm doing a market update every month that tells you what's going on in the market. Do you want me to send it to you?
Yes,
You go,
I like it.
Yeah, right. You just asked me for vanilla ice cream, and I'm like, here, you want this? And they're like, what is that? It's vanilla ice cream. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll take it. You can think
Yeah.
about human nature here, right? So this business can be a real dogfight if you're not following the human nature game. If you're fighting it, trying to get something from people that they don't want to give you, you're going to start alienating everybody around you. But when I say, hey, by the way, I just didn't know if you know, I just resigned from Publix, my corporate job, I resigned from my corporate job, and people be like, oh man, I'm dying to do that. Yeah, so I got into the real estate.
Yeah.
Got a couple of guys teaching me how to do this stuff and blah blah blah. And by the way, one of the things that's going to happen to you every time is they're going to say, oh really? Well, how's the market? Everybody wants to know, right? So now we're going to get really good at answering a question. So before I answer that, I said, hey, by the way, I do a market update every month. And by the way, I can send you a video on how and why to do a good real estate market update. I can send you a sample of one so you can see that. Okay. Do a real estate market update. Now you're capturing info. Now you got to say, okay, if I want to build my sphere, let's say your sphere is 50, can you add 5 people per month, per week to your sphere of influence?
Oh yeah, easily if you think about those 50 and then branch out from there.
Yeah. So 5 a week is 20 per month, which is 240 in a year. Add to the 50 you already have. Now you've got almost 300 people in your sphere of influence. So over the next year, all you've got to do is say, I'm going to add 5 people per week. And that's one technique you can use for that. Okay. There's a couple of other simple techniques I can tell you about quick, but you do that simple technique. And next thing you know, at the end of 12 months, you're at 300 people. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember our math equation? Our math equation is if I do a good job of doing follow-up and adding value to my sphere of influence, I should be able to convert what percentage?
What was it? 10% you said?
Around 10%. So let's say 8 to 10%. So on 300 people at 8%, you've got 24 closings. Okay, so how many did you say you needed?
Oh, there we go. It was 13.
13, right? So here's the deal. Most real estate agents nationally close between 4 and 5 houses a year. That's national average.
Really?
A bunch of them that do 0. So if you take all those guys out, the number is probably more like 6 to 8. But we don't ever get straight answer on how many people do 0, just have a license, do nothing with it. So let's say half of them do 0 to be pessimistic. It's probably more like 8 or so sales per year. So you're already tracking to do way more than that. And here's why. Most people don't even have this. Anthony's been in business how long? And he does not have this sphere of influence.
He's been doing it forever.
And he still has not had somebody force him to put his sphere together the way he needs to. Okay. So learn from his mistakes because his business would be way easier. Okay. Sean Bates, the grand poobah over there. He was a dogfight to get his stuff too. Right. And then he's like, I just like to, it's like, okay, start working your sphere. Now he mainly works his sphere of influence. He's working less hours and making way more money. Okay. So with that said, start this right out of the gate and you're more likely to hit that. Okay. So there's your first task. There's your first setup. Now, once you get to that and you're like, hey, Russ, I'd like to accelerate this a little more. There's 2 or 3 things that you can do to accelerate this. I'll give you a preview. Number 1, you're going to put together a contractor list of preferred contractors. Houses break. If you become a resource for them for that, they're going to call you saying, hey, man, who's your plumber, Robbie? I know you got people. And if they're going to call you for that, they're just going to call you when it's time to sell a house. Okay. The second thing is you're going to do interesting things in your life. So instead of saying, look at me, I'm Robbie the realtor, sell your house with me, please. You're going to say, hey, I'm Robbie the realtor. I'm out and about doing stuff. And by the way, did you check out, I'm at Ukuleles tonight. Check out the band. If you haven't seen a local band play at Ukuleles, I dropped all the way down into Pasco County and check out Ukuleles, having an evening out with the fam. Check this place out on the lake. By the way, don't go in the water. There's a big gator in there. And everybody goes, ha, ha, ha. Oh, shoot, he's serious. So I have the ability to say, hey, I'm Robbie the realtor without being Robbie the realtor, the dipstick that alienates everybody. So I'm telling them what I'm doing, but I'm doing interesting things in life. So instead of your social media posts being just, here's real estate stuff, it's Robbie the realtor doing cool stuff, right? And showing them, hey, if you don't know about this spot, you should check this out. If you don't know about the springs in Homosassa, you got to check this out. Look at this. I'm Robbie the realtor. If you want to know what's going on up this part of town, reach out to me, right? Now you become interesting. We're going to turn you into the most interesting man in the world.
Right on.
Okay, so that's a preview of the next couple steps for you so that you're successful. Okay, so first things first, get your sphere of influence together. Anthony's going to help hold you accountable. He's going to give you an update on Friday as to where he stands with that, Anthony, and then he's going to have his whole sphere put together and be chasing all the stuff around to get the rest of the parts and pieces by Wednesday this time next week.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for right now. If you
All right.
get that done in the next week, you'll still have beat Anthony to it. All right. There's step one. First step, minimal. If you don't do anything else, you got to do that as a brand new real estate agent.